It's about NTA as a corporate entity at 40. So what we intend to do this time, we intend to depart a little from the usual, right? NTA is about television. Television is about programming, right? So we intend, to launch the celebration. Let it be more a celebration that people would see on their screens. That yes, NTA is 40, and we bring back memories of the past 40 years, how it all started, the programs that made NTA peak, tick in those days, and then the people who made NTA tick, the presenters, the newscasters, and so on and so forth. So we're going to start first and foremost by making sure that people realize that NTA is 40, and we want them to realize that from what they see on their television sets.
President Buhari meets National Security Council, strengthens strategy to address security challenges confronting the nation.
African Union awaits President Buhari's address and summit theme as Council of Ministers meeting gets underway.
Pioneer Director General of the NTA interact with management and staff as NTA marks 40th anniversary.
NTA is a national organization. As an institution, it must aim for every sector of the society.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we will focus on deploying the arts for national unity.
And for quite some time, Nigeria has been battling to overcome multifaceted security challenges confronting her.
Now, these challenges include those of insurgency, kidnapping, armed robbery, communal unrest, secessionist agitations, and of course the latest being herdsmen-farmers clashes.
Well, Kingsley, despite timely interventions from time to time to nip these challenges in the bud, they wouldn't just go away, and the Nigerians are always at the receiving end.
Well, there are no formal data, as it were, to quantify the damage to the country and to Nigerians themselves on account of the security challenges. Yet, the challenges continue to be nightmares that the nation has had to endure until solutions are found.
Now, over time, the Nigerian government will have devised various strategies to deal with the issue, that's some of those challenges in security generally. But it will appear that there is no end to some of those issues in sight soon, with the view of the recent happenings in the country.
Now, among the strategies that have been deployed in the past include, of course, the use of force, dialogue, negotiations, as well as amnesty, among others, which the government has tried to use to address the challenges. But certainly, there is no succor in sight.
Yeah. However, people will also believe that there are other ways to address some of these gray areas that we've seen in terms of insecurity generally. Well, one of such is the use of arts and culture as a tool to promote peace and unity in a tense or tension-filled country like Nigeria.
So the question to pop immediately is, how do we deploy the arts to address the country's lingering security and national unity challenges? Now, what should the key players in the sector do henceforth to engender national integration? These and, of course, some other matters arising on how to more effectively deploy the arts and the culture segment of our society. We'll seek to provide answers to from our guests in our discussion segment of Good Morning Nigeria, which is reaching you, as always, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and I welcome you to this program.
My name is Blessing Abu. I join Kingsley to welcome you, and also to thank you for making out time to join us on today's edition. Now, in the course of the program, we'll bring to you our companion segment. We'll take a look at the stories making the front pages of the newspapers this morning. We'll take a look at business, sports, foreign, as well as entertainment news will also be on our menu. Now, we're kicking off with the news, and here's Miriam Akpata as our guide. Good morning to you, Miriam.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us on the news segment. President Muhammadu Buhari met with the National Security Council Thursday to further strengthen strategy to address various security challenges confronting the nation. One way already identified was the control of small arms and light weapons. Minister of Defense Mansur Dan Ali says a committee has been set up for the establishment of a National Commission for the Control of Arms.
Super Tucano aircrafts that the American government agreed to sell to our country. We also discussed some of the issues at hand, that is the herdsman farmers crisis, which the IG gave out full details.
The president also met some governors led by the chairman, Nigerian Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari. Expectations are high at the African Union in Addis Ababa as the continent awaits President Muhammadu Buhari's address on the theme of this year's summit, which centers on fighting corruption. Minister of Foreign Affairs Godfrey Oyema spoke on this feedback from the Council of Ministers meeting.
The level is very high, and there's a committee on anti-corruption, and it's very topical, and and he's a very good face to follow through on that, to really push that agenda. So, they're all very excited and all looking forward to the press conference that he will deliver after the launch of the theme.
The Senate has received an executive communication from President Muhammadu Buhari requesting for approval of the 2017 Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) budget estimates. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports that the Senate also considered the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act 2011 Amendment Bill 2018.
Week, you can come back to confirm to us that NNPC has complied with these resolutions that you have taken. This matter needs to be brought to an end.
Laws are meant to preserve human freedom and dignity, but when a piece of legislation does not promote this, amendment or total repeal becomes necessary. In furtherance of this, the House of Representatives has commenced the amendment of the Section 124 of the Police Act, describing it as an infringement on human rights.
The Police Act clearly provides that for a police officer who is a female officer that wants to marry must first seek the consent of the Commissioner of Police for her to go into that contract.
And Justice Ada in his ruling ruled it as unconstitutional, this particular provision.
I had no idea whatsoever that women police have been so discriminated upon.
I didn't know such laws that are fundamentally against me sitting here, as a woman, exist.
Efforts of the Nigerian police force towards clamping down on crime and protection of lives and property have yielded positive results, with the arrest of 13 suspected notorious militia and kidnap for ransom armed robbery gang in Niger State. The force public relations officer, Jimoh Moshood, reiterated the force's zero tolerance for crime and criminalities in the country.
To let you know that late last year, a police post, Alawa police post, under Shiroro local government area was razed down by these bandits that have been arrested now. These bandits have been in operation for quite some time now, and 2 policemen were killed in this incident. It's equally of note that they have admitted to the killing of 19 people at different levels. They killed 7, they kidnapped 7 people from a mosque, took them to undisclosed location and killed all of them. They subsequently equally kidnapped additional 4 people, killed them on a different date, equally kidnapped 2, 4 and 2 other persons, making a total number of 19 people that have been kidnapped and killed by these bandits.
Former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, is still in EFCC custody, making useful statements. Babachir Lawal has been in EFCC's custody, answering questions bordering on allegations of corruption. He was alleged to have diverted funds meant for the alleviation of humanitarian crisis in the Northeast. EFCC acting head of media, Samin Amadin, told NTA News that Babachir Lawal is cooperating with the Commission's investigators. As part of activities marking NTA at 40, the Pioneer Director General, Vincent Maduka, interacted with management and staff of NTA, tasking them to continue to uphold professional ethics and standards so as to ensure NTA remains a pace-setter and reference point. He gave the advice at the NTA headquarters in Abuja.
We are highly automated now. What I've seen is amazing. I mean, I'm an old man, yes, but when I studied engineering in the 50s, what you've got now is in another world entirely from what I had studied. So I envy you, modern broadcast engineers, for the kind of things, because what you're playing with is magic now, right? At the end of the day, what matters is what the people at home see. They have no clue what goes on behind the scenes.
I thought it would be nice if the staff of NTA interact with the first Director General of the authority as NTA marks 40 years of its existence. And from all indications, you know, everybody was excited to see him. Some were seeing him for the first time. He has pointed out 1 or 2 things that we need to do to move forward faster.
That's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Blessing and Kingsley shortly. Thanks for watching.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
Is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Organized, trained, and fully equipped. We are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime. We bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Show me a worker who sleeps on duty.
Obama! Hey, Obama!
Show me a worker who is always preoccupied with something else when he should be working.
Stand Pepe, they're real big. Mr. Flash. Jesus Christ.
Show me a worker who is never present at his desk. Show me a worker who I can go on and on.
Me too, I'll be a ghost worker. Make I report myself.
This week on Professor John Rule, we explore the satire of the worker who is not a worker. Join us in this episode titled Ghost Worker and see how Flash managed to get a job to help his life.
Even if you don't have respect for me, at least have respect for my briefcase.
Not just the briefcase, the shoes as well.
Over and out. Brought to you by Glow,
the largest data network. Glow Unlimited. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Morphine! Presenting Mortis On Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Mortis Power Guard.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? No. They are spread through germs which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash your hands. What you have to do is bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash your hands.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's take a look at some business report right now. Federal government woos more investors to boost Nigeria's economy, citing positive outlook in 2018. State governments reiterate readiness to key into federal government's roadmap in the mining sector. Joe Uzo will fill us in.
Welcome to Business News. Foreign businesses interested in investing in Africa have been encouraged to take a look at the very attractive opportunities available in Nigeria, as the country's economic outlook for 2018 and in the near future is very positive. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Budget and National Planning Minister Senator Udoma, and Trade, Industry and Investment Minister Dr. Oke Enelema at various events and bilateral meetings with global business leaders at the World Economic Forum, which ends in Davos, Switzerland today, marketed the potentials of Nigeria and encouraged investors to take advantage of the opportunities on offer. At a dinner hosted by the Vice President for Investors in Davos on Wednesday night, Senator Udoma said that there are many opportunities available in agriculture and agro-processing industry, mining, construction, infrastructure, and services, as Nigeria has one of the largest markets in Africa. He told the gathering, which also include Nigerians in the diaspora, that the government is determined to revamp the economy by improving the enabling environment for all investors, both domestic and international. Meanwhile, to further make Nigeria attractive to foreign investors, the country has secured a $150 million grant from the World Bank to support the re-engineering of Nigeria's mining sector through mineral sector support for economic diversification projects, MINDIVA. Governor of Cross River State, Professor Ben Ayade, said the state has a large deposit of solid minerals and expressed the readiness of the state to partner the federal government in its diversification quest because of the commitment it has shown, while the Commissioner for Solid Minerals in Ebonyi State, Dr. Francis Oji, said the state has already keyed into the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development roadmap.
Coming from Cross River State Solid Mineral, we have a limestone that's about 97.8% purity. And so what are we waiting for? And that's when we're talking with the minister. We need to set more cement plants in Cross River State, and he did Calabar.
There is so much to be done in the mining sector, in the solid mineral sector, just like in the oil. And so there must be serious collaboration between the federal and the states to be able to harness and move forward in the mining sector.
Now, Nigeria's stock market dips by 0.99% to sustain negative market sentiment, closing at 43,929.06 basis points. Next is a graphic summary. That's it on Business News. Good Morning Nigeria continues.
Thank you very much, Joy Uzo, for the business package. Next for us, we'll go to the front pages of some of today's newspapers to check out the headlines.
Here's Bayo Atoyebi, who's already seated. Good morning to you, Bayo.
Morning, Blessing.
What are the papers saying?
Well, we look forward to
we'll find out.
Good morning, Kingsley. And good morning,
to see you. It's a Friday, I'm sure that...
yes.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to it. There are a number of stories, though, by the way, that come onto the front pages. But I think, Blessing, let's begin with you. You have two lead stories in your paper that's significant.
Yes. Let's start off with the editorial from Nigerian Tribune. Now, elections are around the corner. So there's a piece looking at overcoming vote buying. Vote buying, of course, we get to take that in parts. How it comes on, and who are exactly the buyers from time to time. Okay, there are other stories for the front page of the Punch. Just above the nameplate, we have restructuring, APC panel, OK's resource control, state police, as well as other issues. And still on APC for The Guardian, let's quickly take a look at the lead story for The Guardian. APC panel, OK's devolution, resource control, state police. Those are items that are similar. Any related issues on that?
Well, the story on the APC panel or committee, it's also there on the front page of the leadership on Friday, but it's not the lead story. It's the second lead story there. It says, APC committee submits report on restructuring with a rider, local government autonomy, and state creation suffer setback. APC committee submits report on restructuring. Local government autonomy, state creation suffer setback. Another story there, the same story, by the way, it's also there on the front page of the New Telegraph, but it's not the lead story. It's one amongst the four headlines you have in the window of headlines immediately below the nameplate of New Telegraph. APC committee recommends resource control and state police. That story is on page 6 in greater detail. Bayo, let's take that before we go ahead with other stories on the front pages.
Well, the issue of the APC committee report dominated all the papers, but the interesting thing about it is that each paper gave it the perspective of its own interest. For instance, The Nation says APC panel proposes power devolution. The Punch and The Guardian are saying that restructuring, APC panel, OK's resource control, state police, and yes, and also trust. Daily Trust says APC panel wants local government scrap and resource control, and this day says that APC renews onshore offshore debate. Well, The 27-member panel of the APC committee has submitted its report to the National Working Committee, and they made 4 critical recommendations, among others, because the panel was given a list of 12 items under the topic restructuring. The first one is it recommended the scrapping of local governments, and therefore they proposed that there should be 2 federating states. In this regard,
2 federating units.
Federating units. In this regard, they want sections 7, 8, and 162 of the Constitution amended. The other second and very critical one is the amendment of the Petroleum Act, Land Use Act, the Nigerian Mineral and Mining Act, as well as the Petroleum Profit Tax, and to ensure that mineral mining and oil are vested in states. That is what everybody is referring to as resource control. However, they say this is to exclude the offshore of minerals. The third one is the area of fiscal federalism, and therefore they said revenue allocation should be amended in such a way that the majority, the large share, should favor the state, and that the federal share should be reduced. The APC National Chairman, Chief Odigi Oyegun, says that it will be given an expeditious consideration by the party organs in due course. The APC committee had 27 members on its panel.
But thanks a lot. Some of the points you just touched on, for instance, the amendments to the Petroleum Act, that's a matter already being handled under the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, as well as other related bills. Both chambers have already passed the 2 bills. Sorry, both chambers have already passed the bill on the PIGB, and then 3 other bills are awaiting their consideration. Plus, of course, there are other issues that we have also touched on. The National Assembly, if you recall, had earlier, that's 2017, passed the amendments to the Constitution, which are then forwarded to the states. So the question, obviously, that the number of persons will be asking, or most persons will be asking, is, all right, where do these recommendations by the APC committee fit into the ongoing amendment of the Constitution? Are they going to have to revert to the National Assembly to get to work on some of the issues that they have raised now? Are they coming rather late in the day? Is there a timeline for all of this to be concluded? But still, they have put their own cards on the table now, and I'm sure that all the stakeholders.
The interesting thing is that these are issues that has been worrying Nigerians, and they have been at least given a bold attention now. The other alternative, however, is that because the APC is the ruling party, their proposal could go to the executive and go to the National Assembly as an executive bill, and then the National Assembly will take it up from there. Luckily for them, they have the majority in the National Assembly.
Well, and then the other point to note, just before we leave there, where you're talking about what will happen now, the APC will work on it, the APC committee, National Working Committee, it goes to the executive may on its own now send it to the National Assembly. That's why I was talking about timelines. What are we looking at? This is the election year, by the way. I mean, it's about 13 months or so to the first set of elections, and there are issues pertaining to all of that. So we'll see how matters go. But as you indicated, they have already put their own recommendations or their own thoughts, as it were, with regard to issues bordering the nation on how we'll proceed. But let's take other headlines.
All right.
Okay, for those who have formed the habit of hoarding currencies, Bayo, Kingsley, for those ones that you have kept away, I am sure this news might not be very palatable for those who have hoarding currencies. Well, currency holders risk huge losses over Naira's positive outlook. Now, there is a rider, experts foresee stability on rising reserves, forex supply, as well as oil prices. Wow. That's on the front page of The Guardian. Just beside the photograph is that story. Okay.
That's good news for me.
Great news.
My Naira is going to appreciate.
That's the point. Maybe she's the one that...
Don't mind. Never mind. I won't come searching. All right. Let's move over to the Punch quickly. Beside the APC story on restructuring that I read out earlier, there is a story. EFCC freezes ex-SGF Lawal's account to invite and also to invite associates. You find out most details about that story on page 34. Now, leading for the Punch this morning, Defense Minister blames killings by herdsmen on anti-grazing law. Danale says grazing routes blockade also responsible, and communities and other people must learn how to accept foreigners. That now is in parentheses within their enclaves. finish. Okay, just beside the photograph, you have other stories. Oil hit $71 for first time since 2014. And almost a mishap. Plane loses landing gear, tires at Abuja airport. More details about that on page 21. And the federal government to monitor social media posts of notable Nigerians.
All right, Bayo, let me just take a potpourri of other headlines from the New Telegraph. The lead story for New Telegraph says, with a kicker, Oshibajo, Buhari not thinking about 2019. That's according to the New Telegraph. Buhari not thinking about 2019. And APC leader suspects conspiracy on Obasanjo's letter. And you have other writers to that headline. And then the second lead story for the New Telegraph, which is right there at the foot of the front page of the New Telegraph, it says, National Assembly broke, says Saraki, and sets up committee on electoral reforms. The story is in the greater detail on pages 3 and 6. New treatment saves lives of stroke patients. That's what you have there on the front page. Also from the front page of the Leadership newspaper, this time also on the elections, the lead story says, Senate plans to reschedule presidential, National Assembly and governorship elections. And it says a party wants a limit to parties' registration and lawmakers' tenure. That story is on page 6 of the Leadership newspaper. And immediately below the name flag of the Leadership newspaper, 700,000 candidates to lose admission over JAMB deadline. 700,000 candidates to lose admission over JAMB deadline. That's on page 12. And right there at the foot of the front page of also of the Leadership newspaper, two other headlines. That says, Malame defense meeting with MENA in Dubai. That's on page 4. And Nigeria decries U.S. stringent conditions for sale of fighter jets.
Well, let's look at the story particularly, which apparently many papers seem to have talked away. You have a coalition of 30 political parties saying they are forming an alliance with the intention of fielding one presidential candidate. And this becomes part of the movement about the statement of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. In fact, this day had also indicated that there's already a Nigerian integration movement, NIM, which is comprising of a barrage of professionals, civil society groups, and activists who wants to form a front. The other category, second one, comprises political leaders, serving and former, who are also coming together. So the politics of 2019 is getting more interesting. But there is this interesting story which I'm sure Blessing will be happy to hear.
Okay.
Nigeria's flag is to be hoisted at the 2018 Winter Olympics. 3 Nigerian ladies, very inspiring. You have Sheun Adigun, Aloma Omega, and Ngozi Omere. They are the 3 that are to lead the Nigerian bobsledge team. Bobsledge is something you slide.
The video had actually been trending on the internet for quite some time.
I'm very proud of them. These are ladies who are schooling in the US, and rather than fighting to run for US, they insisted, volunteer their time and training and look for sponsors to represent Nigeria at Winter Olympics. They are going to be the first African, the first Nigerian, to fly Nigeria's flag at Winter Olympics, and the first African team to be so represented.
Of course, we're in the tropics, so we have nothing to do with winter.
Well, so, this is at least that will interest you.
Well, that's right. But I mean, if you were to practice locally, then you have to have the right conditions,
exactly.
Right weather conditions,
the environment,
and the environment. Yes. There's no snowfall in Nigeria, by the way. So
that is true. But you see, in Africa, from their background,
in Africa,
they are all athletes, sprint athletes, and they deal with speed.
That's
and
right.
They saw an opportunity, and they are able to capitalize.
Switch.
Yes, on their training and capitalize on that opportunity.
Which is good. Wherever the good feelings about Nigerians is being felt, that is one that we'd like to hear this time.
All right, but let's return to the editorial that we talked about earlier. That's, the editorial is of the Nigerian Tribune, and it's on page 13. It's Overcoming Vote Buying. That's the editorial. And it talks about, it says that the impunity of vote buying has graduated from what politicians call prepaid to postpaid vote buying. And it also includes vote and cook a pot of soup, and then cash and noodle, which of course, according to the paper, all of this border on predatory and prebendal politics. But it's urging the National Assembly to adopt further electoral reforms aimed at blocking the gaps in the legal framework of the nation's electoral process. And here, it's calling on the government to consider electronic voting and use of technology in elections and regulating election expenses and increasing penalties for election offenders.
Well, the whole idea is to ensure that electoral processes is, as far as monetization or monetary induction, is reduced to the barest minimum. You can't eliminate it completely. There are several functions of it. You have stomach infrastructure, which is part of it when you are given a bag of rice or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is that there is now a consciousness among the Nigerians. On the social media is trending. And what the advice is this: if they give you money, take it. It is your money. But vote according to your conscience. And that is a very strategic way of defeating the idea of introducing money as a means of inducing people. Even people went to go to the extent of agents stand very close to the polling booths, and if you are giving money, you thumbprint and show to be sure before you do. It is completely undermining the secret balloting system.
That's right. That's right. Let's say that you have to, and there are certain ways of doing that. You show that you have voted for, you have interpreted the right spot, and then I mean it's funny but quite serious, because as you rightly observed, all of these things undermine the electoral process, and then some of those guys some of those agents who share the money, some of them are referred to as chairmen. You know, that's because they're
not the chairman.
Not the chairman, chairmen. That's what they do. But crucially, as the editorial also talks about, it says, look, but we have to increase the penalties for electoral offenders. These are electoral offenses, and therefore, whoever is in breach of that would need to face the law.
Yes, you recall that yesterday we also talked about electoral violence, which is part of it. The laws are there, but they are rarely enforced. And apparently, people are arrested. But at the end of the day, you never hear about them being taken to court.
That's right, Bayo. Oil, once again, Bayo, before we go, oil hits $71 for the first time. Good news, but also bad
but
news.
Very alarming, because it still continues to threaten the landing cost of imported petrol.
Absolutely, because we are unable to refine our needs for petroleum products. All right, Bayo Toby, that's so much we can take from you. We hope you enjoy your weekend, and see you on Monday. All right, so that does it for our newspaper review segment. Let's take a short break now. When we return, we'll be talking about how to deploy the arts for national unity.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning, in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I knew what Grandma's secret was. I was so excited to sing in the choir. And your shirts are always so white. I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me. It's Jik, of course, the trusted bleach which can be used all around your house for amazing results.
Shh, it's our little secret.
It's no secret. Jik removes 101 stains. Just Jik it.
The time has come for Nigeria to take her rightful place in world sports with the first national grassroots sports festival to discover and prepare sport talents and develop future world champions for Nigeria. The festival date is 3rd to 10th March 2018. Venue is the National Stadium, Abuja, packages A and B. This is the opportunity for you to promote your brand through the festival. For broadcast sponsorship, which include live broadcasts, highlight shows, and TV fans show, contact the Chairman, Chief Coordinator, Angelo Peter I. Elosia, or Nick Onishi. Organizers, Grassroots International Sports Academy and LOP Worldwide Television. Endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. Broadcast partner, NTA.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
If you just joined us, the program is Good Morning in Nigeria. Now, is art able to speak to the consciousness of the society? Well, we're set for our discussion. We'll take a look at this background report as put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi to set the tone for our conversation.
For some time now, Nigeria has been battling with a series of challenges in different parts of the country. Communal unrest, insurgency, farmers' herders' clashes, as well as agitations from different quarters are issues seriously challenging the country's unity. This has resulted in some Nigerians talking and thinking about disintegration as a way out of getting the much desired lasting peace. However, some Nigerians are of the view that one major tool that will enhance the unity of the country is through arts. Arts traverse different spheres of life, ranging from music, dance and drama, drawing and visual arts, sports, as well as culture and tradition. As much as art is known to be a major employer of labor and contributor to Nigeria's GDP, more opportunities can still be harnessed to promote national integration. Nations that embrace arts are said to strive better and remain more united than those that don't. Part of the importance of arts and culture is to spur the creative instincts of the people, especially the youth, rather than picking up arms and ammunition towards the division and destruction of the country. It also makes the people see ways of passing across their demands to the government in better and democratic ways.
I sing for all y'all. Don't let anybody push you to the wall. The community, now make us all. Secret society, now break us all.
It brings better productivity to the people and makes them engaged rather than being idle enough to be used to perpetrate evil.
When one is good, honest, and unselfish in all their dealings, they are given a place in the stars, and they go on to be a guiding light to all of us on earth, so that we do not err from the path.
Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be given more insights on ways of using arts for national unity.
right, thank you very much, Uyemi Ajayi, for that background report. Now we have guests to elaborate further on these issues. First, at this time, we'd like to welcome to our studios Professor Emmanuel Dandaura. Professor Dandaura, of course, is the president, International Theatre Institute of UNESCO, and also a consultant to the African Union Commission on Cultural Goods. He is also a professor of participatory communication and performance aesthetics at Nasarawa State University in Kefi. Professor Dandaura, pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, and then we also have with us here in the studios a professor of theatre arts at the University of Abuja. He's Sent Bileka. Pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning. Okay.
All right, Kingsley, from here we'll go to Lagos, where we have another guest. We'd like to welcome to Good Morning Nigeria today, Chief Oyenike Monica Okundaye. She's an artist, of course, and she's also the Chief Executive Officer, Nike Center for Arts and Culture. Chief Nike Okundaye, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Kingsley, let's begin.
Let's begin straight away. I mean, also taking off from the background report by our correspondent, which I'm sure you listened to with regard to the various art forms that are available. But our critical focus this morning is on how the arts can indeed be more effectively deployed for national unity and integration, and also to heal the many wounds that the country is bleeding from at the moment. Professor Dandaura, let's begin with you. Do the arts lend themselves to what we have on the cards now with regard to a topic for discussion?
Thank you. I think to answer that question, it's important for us to ask ourselves what really are some of the challenges we have with national integration. What really are the challenges we have with forging a united front as Nigerians? I would like to say that without any fear of contradiction, that one of the reasons why it seems like we have issues being united as Nigerians is that of hunger and unemployment. And this sector, the arts we're talking about, has proven to be very useful in creating jobs. In the US, for instance, 4.1 million people are employed in this sector. And the country makes about $135 billion annually. Globally, there's a research that was conducted just last year, and it was discovered that in terms of finances, the world makes about $2,250 billion from the arts. And in terms of employment, we have about 29.5 million people employed in this sector. So the arts have every potential to provide employment. They have every potential to kill hunger, which is one of the reasons. The other reason you might say, what is responsible for some of the challenges we have? You might talk about the collapse of trust between ethnic groups, between communities, because of a series of issues in terms of disappointments from the political class and perceived exclusion from the share of the national resources. Now, the performing arts are very functional in terms of ensuring social inclusion. Because part of why people do some things that you wonder whether they have conscience is because they feel that they are losers. They feel that they are not partakers in the national discourse. When you look at the production process in the performing arts, for instance, to produce a play, people work in collaboration with each other. Sets of people from different backgrounds come together and they spend some time together, and there is some bonding. Now that is a learning process that goes in there. When you also go to the production, performance of the play, people from different backgrounds come and cohabit in a very small space. Now, these are all parts of processes of training to help people to better understand themselves, to help people to better see why they should live together.
Okay. All right, Professor Dandara, before we move into some other area, because the purpose for this discourse is on using art, or how art itself has helped in promoting unity. You made mention of something about trust. So that could have been something that held us together in that trust situation in the first instance. The believability of what tradition, the culture of the people from time to time, before we even moved out in the larger society. Yeah. There was something holding us together in terms of tradition and value. Yeah. At what point did we lose this so that we now have that distrust?
Well, in the first instance, you know that we were made up of different ethnic groups brought together. So we needed expressions of opportunities where we could express our various cultures. We needed opportunities to talk together. That process was on at the beginning. But with more and more tensions in terms of struggle for control of national resources, people begin to feel excluded. A simple action like somebody seeing his ethnic dance featured on NTA goes a long way to make him feel part of Nigeria. A situation where there seems to be some monologue where a few cultures dominate virtually every sphere. It doesn't create room for that feeling of inclusiveness. Okay, and this is one of the areas we have missed it. Right. When we started feeling that there are major ethnic groups and there are minority ethnic groups, and it looks like you can dictate for every ethnic nationality once you're able to satisfy the major ethnic groups. That is one of the areas.
Thank you very much, Professor Dandara. Let's bring in Professor St. Bilika at this point in time. At the beginning of this program, we talked about arts being a means to actually speak to the soul of society. And when art is said, it's said to be the mirror to life. In what way, as arts, for us as a people, as Nigerians, whether from north, south, east, and west, there is something about our culture which itself is art in all its entirety. How have we been able to motivate, or how do we get it to motivate the people to actually speak to national development?
See, art as a matter of fact deals with conflicts. And when you are dealing with conflictual issues, you are trying to navigate around them so you can solve them. Now, if you look back at our history, when we started, there was a common bond. We had a common enemy, which was the colonialist, the British. And you had people like Ogunde, you had, other theater practitioners devoting their themes to the issue of national unity, the issue of decolonization. You found plays like Bread and Butter, around the issues of the coal miners in Enugu, and all those things. In other words, the core issues that concern society, that concern Nigeria, were pursued by the arts. They were given up and then analyzed, dramatized, and people saw that where there is unity, there is a need for unity to fight against a common enemy. And now today, who is our enemy? Our enemy, let me say, are the elites who are against, our common humanity. When we're talking in terms of a common humanity, you are talking in terms of our own destiny. For all human beings have a common destiny. And we have been plagued by certain issues. And what are these issues? He had mentioned them. Poverty, diseases, lack of adequate health facilities, education, and all that. And then how do the arts pursue these things? Somewhere along the line, in terms of popular theater, which he knows very well, we have been able to go around it to bring out issues within society, interrogate, society, go back to the roots. We interact with the local people, using their own languages, using their own artistic medium to sort out the problem. What are really your problems? Is it in terms of communal clashes? Is it in terms of harassment? Is it in terms of hunger? Is it in terms of poverty? Is it in terms of infrastructure? And then you dialogue amongst yourselves and see how you'll be able to accomplish these things, to overcome it, using your own intellect, not allowing people to come and detect what you may call development or the major issues that concern you. So I think if we want to deploy the arts for that purpose, we may be achieving the right goal. Simple, the same way that Ogunde and the others did in the 60s and in the 40s.
So what has been the drawback in deploying the arts to actually do that? Because when you talk about participatory theatre, moving around the people, they actually tell you what issues should be, instead of what you have perceived, okay, maybe at the elite position.
Well, I would rather say that the fault is also with us, the artists, and also in terms of funding. We need to redirect the art, give it a focus, a national focus. If we have a national troupe, the national troupe can identify the major issues that, you know, are our problems. And you can have productions around these major issues, visit state capitals. And mark you, the national troupe is made up of various ethnic nationalities. And of course, if you want, you can deploy them to go into the various places and do plays that revolve around the issues of a state. But at the national level, you can have national issues and then develop scripts around them and make plays around them and take them to all these state capitals. But at the end of it, you can even have a workshop to dialogue about them. That's the way I look at it. And of course, cultural exchanges. When you do a lot of cultural exchanges, you are trying to bridge a gap of misunderstanding. You are bringing people together. You know, they know people's cultures. I mean, they know people's feelings. They know how they feel about them and all that. So you are narrowing that gap of conflict. You are bringing communal understanding.
All right, Professor Waigbeleka, thank you very much. Let's go over to Lagos Network Center, where we earlier introduced Chief Nick Okundaye, who is CEO of the Nick Center for Arts and Culture. Chief Okundaye, you've listened to the two professors who are here with us in the Abuja studios. They talk about the economic dimension of the arts, as well as the utility of the arts in terms of confronting some of our national challenges. Let's get your own perspective as your introductory remark.
Well, I want to thank the NTA for focusing on art. Art is something that brings everybody together, not only in Nigeria, I will say the whole world. For example, we can use art to create a job for all the people who have no job. Besides that, art is just something that is like therapy that relaxes people. For example, the king of Morocco come to Nigeria. He said Nigeria is rich in art and culture. He was in Lagos for 3 weeks and he come to the gallery every day just to relax. So art can create a job for the people who have no job. When we are in Abuja, the Governor El-Rufai actually created a road to the gallery where people who are jobless, he brought them there and we are teaching them. So it take off the criminal aspect, because when people has not eaten and you have no job, that is when you are thinking of bad thing to do. So I will say art is creativity, and we are sitting on treasure in Nigeria. There is so many talented artists in Nigeria. You just come to the gallery and see the finished product of the artists in Nigeria. You will be so happy and honored. They are like therapy.
Chief Okundaye, thank you very much. 2 points that you have raised in terms of the plenitude of creative talent in the country and the therapeutic effect of the arts. Professor Dandaura, let's get your comment on this, particularly with regard to arts as therapy. If, as we have seen, there's so much bloodletting in the country arising from all kinds of criminalities, and lately clashes between farmers and herdsmen. What role can the arts play in this as
There's
a
a
healing
lot
balm?
the arts can do. You know, one of the places we missed it is also when we thought that science and technology was the only way out for Nigeria to develop. So we're building machines instead of human beings. The arts actually make us human beings. They instill in us those humane feelings, those understanding of what connects you to your neighbor. We begin to find it difficult to see ourselves as members of communities when we underplay the arts, because that is what helps you to think community. And so we need to go back to situations where the arts can become central to our development. Creativity is one of the 5 top skills that any business leader needs, for instance. And so when you underplay the arts, you are also killing creativity. And that makes it difficult for people to move together. Secondly, when there is tension, and you don't have avenues, like she said, where you can go and relieve yourself of that tension, you begin to see the next person as responsible for your problem. You become more aggressive. Again, because we do not have enough avenues where people can go and relax. In our traditional societies, every evening you come back from the farm, the children eat, and the father tells them story. It's a means of relaxing them. It's a means of also connecting them to history. Because one of the reasons why we also have violence is because we do not have a sense of history. And the arts can help us capture history for posterity. It also helps us renegotiate certain realities in our history. It helps us also to be educated about our history. If you meet most of the young men that are below 40 years today, they do not know anything about the Nigerian Civil War. Maybe they just hear it as an esoteric tale. You know, so it is very convenient for them to say we should divide Nigeria. It's very convenient for them to say let us fight. They never went through the experiences that our elders that were adults at that time went through. Some of us were very young, indeed maybe born during the war, but at least we were closer to understanding what happened at that time. So the arts are very necessary to help us have a sense of history so that we do not repeat those mistakes that we made in history, you know. So it's very important also in terms of education. So essentially, Nigeria can return to the road towards speedy development when we begin to re-engage ourselves on what makes us human, when we begin to re-engage ourselves on those things that give us a common identity. Again, it is the arts that can give you that feeling of a common shared identity.
All right, Professor Dandara, thank you very much. Professor Buleka, let's get your own take on this. Professor Dandara says, look, the arts would make us human. And from what we have seen lately in the country, the atrocities being committed by some persons obviously are not activities that will be tolerated by any human society. How do we now mine the arts? First, as therapy, as Chief Okundaye said, and then going forward to catalyze trust and development.
Well, art as therapy, as ventilation, that is trying to release pent-up feelings that one would have, maybe arising from disappointment, from the failure to achieve desired goals, or disappointment from the fact that your dreams cannot be realized, and so without it you ventilate it on your fellow Nigerian or your fellow African. I think if we look at our common humanity, which what the arts preach, that is our common destiny as human beings, then we will begin to look at the arts in much more progressive ways. That is to say that if you listen to a story, if a story is being dramatized before you, the essence is not just for entertainment. The essence is for you to find the reason why a certain character is behaving the way he is behaving. And now you bring in several other forces, psychological, political, economical. So you begin to look at that individual as from a wholesome position. And so when you do that, it is then you begin to understand, the way that individual feels in terms of what the arts are trying to portray him. And so for me, when you ask, how can the arts be deployed, to sort out the kind of problems we have in Nigeria, I still will ask you to take the arts to the people. When you take this to them, now they will indigenize the art. They will use their own forms of communication and be able to interrogate the ways in which their destiny has come to that particular situation. And they'll be able to find answers without you providing the answers for them. And I said it has been done before. It has been done in Brazil, it has been done in Peru, it has been done in several other places. People like Paulo Freire, Augusto Boer, they use theater, to educate the people, to conscientize the people, to let the people know that, look, this is your enemy. It is not me that is your enemy. This is who is your enemy. The person who is oppressing you is your enemy. And so the arts, in a subtle way, can be used to arouse consciousness within the people. And when you arouse this kind of consciousness, they themselves, mark you, illiteracy is not adequate to unintelligence. It does not mean that when you are not literate, you are not intelligent. You can be more intelligent than somebody who has 3 PhDs or somebody who is a professor. It's just a matter of tickling the person to reason beyond the way he will reason, and he will get it right away. Ngugi tried it with the Kamaruzi people. He used this popular theater thing I'm talking about. He stayed with them for a couple of years, 2 years, taught them how to do things around themselves, asked them, why don't you have land? Why is there poverty? Why are you not participating in government in spite of the fact that they use you as Mau people? We can do that in Nigeria. If Ngugi did it, we can do it in Nigeria. And the people became aware, and they produced a play called I Will Marry When I Want.
I Will Marry When I Want.
Yes. Now, I Will Marry When I Want was opposed by the government. They did not allow them to perform at the National Theatre. Why? Because it pricked the conscience of government at that particular time. Of course, it was produced, but the Kamaruzi Theatre was demolished by the governmental, forces. Now, what am I saying? If you apply these things, ask the herdsmen, what is happening? Ask, those farmers, what is happening? What is the problem between you and these people? Use the theatre now to be able to understand their problems, and they will themselves provide solutions on how they can go about it. That's the way you can use theater progressively.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Sense. Let's return to Lagos, where we have Chief Nike Okundayi. Earlier on, you used the phrase arts being therapeutic for people. Yes, beyond the theater, or other beings, especially that which the form of art which you project, is that of the visual art, the painting, and all of those, alongside these other means as well that the two professors here have talked about. Now, how are we deploying this to actually touch the consciousness of the people? You find that most times, is even some of our people are not even Nigerians that actually come visit some of those plays or some other moving theater that we get to see. Go to the galleries. Well, maybe for a few who are enthusiasts, how have we been able to pull the average Nigerian to actually speak to them, to prick their consciousness in redirecting some of those energies that will go into conflicts?
Well, I want to say we have to go back to the source. We have to create more awareness in our people to tell them how art can be used to unite the whole country. You have to go back to the older people. Every city, every country, the first thing is the treasure of the country, which is the art. They go back to educate People has to go back to the older people. What type of art are we doing in our own time, which the modern time is now, but the old traditional time that people are always happy together. There is no war between Nigeria, but now look at how everybody is fighting themselves. For what? We can go back and educate our people and tell them creativity can bring all of us together as one family. Creativity, when you have a job to do, you can do it behind your yard. That is why we have the art of indigo, which unite the whole Nigeria. You go to Kano, you see the indigo pit. It gives you a job to do that. Oh, I can be doing just dyeing of this indigo and make money. You go to Abuja, you go to the Gwari people. Even food is part of art. There is so much we can impact in our people. Educate them to go to the museum. Visit your own treasure. Visit your own creativity and see the handwork. You can also pick from all these, what you see in the museum, and try to create something by yourself. There is so much we can use. And also the media, like how the NTA bring us together. If we can go to every state in Nigeria, I would love to just go there to tell them how handwork is good. Akwete in Abia, indigo in Kano, Adire in Oshogbo. So there is so much you can do with creativity and bring everybody together. And we have to educate, as I told you, without going to different states. Not only state alone, the local government, the local council, we create the art of their own environment. Benue, they have black and white. Ordinary women can bring income to Nigeria. So we have so much in our own hand that we have to educate people to do their own handwork and their traditional creativity that they have in their mind.
Chief Okundaye, thank you very much for that perspective. You're talking about going around the Federation. I'm sure that if you were on the entourage to go around the Federation, you will have different headgears, you know, for the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, making 37. All right, we'll come back to you later on in the course of the conversation. Professor Dandaura and Professor Guleka right here with us in the studios. Let's also narrow it down. Professor Guleka has talked about the use of theater and cited the example much more pointedly of what Ngugi wa Thiong'o tried to do in Kenya. Now, let's look at two forms, music and film. We have seen the phenomenal growth of film in Nigeria, at least in the last 25 years or so, with the growth of Nollywood and Kannywood and various woods that we have. We have also seen the rise of popular music by young Nigerians. What do you think has been missing in tapping into this in the heat of the crisis that the nation is immersed in?
Well, I was privileged to chair the pilot study on mapping of the creative industries, which British Council sponsored 3 years back. And we realized from that pilot survey in Lagos that a lot of money came in through fashion, film, music and film in that order in terms of impacting the GDP. So we have a lot of potentials. You go everywhere in Africa. By virtue of my assignment with the African Union, I've had cause to visit so many African countries within the last 5 years. Everywhere you go, you hear Nigerian music. So they love Nigerian music across Africa and outside Africa. Wherever you have a large number of black population, they love Nigerian music. When you talk about legends like Fela, it cuts across races. You also come to the issue of Nollywood. There is virtually no African country you go to that the first thing they tell you once you say a Nigerian, the first thing they will talk about one character or the other in Nollywood. Same when you go to football, you have all that. But where is the missing link? I think we must first of all realize that this requires the participation of 4 stakeholders. First, government must understand that it has an obligation because Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which Nigeria is of course a responsible partner to the United Nations, we need to know that enjoying cultural production and enjoying the arts is part of the fundamental human rights of the citizens. So our government has signed to ensure that Nigerians have adequate room to enjoy the arts, because that is helpful in their development. We also need to understand that government has a role to provide the enabling environment in terms of infrastructure so that the private sector can take advantage of it. The Lagos State government is doing well by creating 3 theaters, and also when you visit the Freedom Park, you find that there are lots of activities. It's an open space. By even donating that space to us, the arts community, various artists are able to find venues to express themselves in very flexible spaces. Now, that is the kind of role government is expected to play. You need lights, because you want to shoot movies, you need light. You also want to move your equipment from one location to the other without having to run into accident because of bad roads. So those infrastructure are not there. So it is expensive to produce movies. It is also very expensive for our musicians to engage in road tours from one place to the other.
Sorry,
but you will know that...
Professor Dandara, sorry, let me interject. These are general problems pertaining to the arts community, also the performing arts and so on and so forth. I'm talking about content, that in spite of the challenges that you talked about, musicians are belting all kinds of tunes, and they are releasing tune after tune, hit after hit. Movies are also being churned out, in the numbers that are virtually uncountable.
Certainly.
Yeah, I'm saying, how do we tap into this, shall we say, deluge of music and films in order to address some of the core challenges that the country is facing, which you also touched on?
We need to channel the energies. When you even look at the content, when you talk of producing music, what are they talking about in the music? Most of it is chase for money. And that is because government has abdicated its role to provide a focus. We need to, for instance, in the movie industry, I've argued that during the National Summit on Tourism and Culture, why won't government have some of an incentive to say, look, if you can produce a good movie that will promote so and so values, you can access some degree of support. That way, the producers will begin to channel their energies towards producing good movies that would express some of those national values. You also tell the musicians, we have XYZ support for you, or even recognition if you can dedicate your art to promoting XYZ ideals. That way, you find people beginning to do that. But at the moment, it is everybody to himself. And so they look for what is cheap and what can easily sell in the market. But if you have a focus, we will still be able to produce good music, we'll still be able to produce good movies, and they would be value added towards our national integration aspirations.
All right, Professor Buleka, your thoughts?
Yeah, you see, like you said, you can't give what you don't have. You see, your level of consciousness, your level of education impedes on what you can produce. There are 3 levels of the performing arts. The elite, that is, the literally. The popular, which the masses produce, including music, Nollywood and all that. Look at the level of consciousness of these people that produce. There was a time, now I've forgotten his name, but he sang a song, Nigeria Jaga Jaga. Idris. And the former president, Idris, and the former president Obasanjo said, "Na your mother Jaga Jaga." Nigeria, no. In other words,
it was actually referring to his father.
Yes. Now, you have to be conscious enough to give your message in such a way that will motivate the people. Why do we cherish people like Bob Marley? Why do we cherish, even people who are not Nigerians but that are black, the black musicians? They talk about situations that we also feel as human beings having a common destiny. Now, even the composition of the groups should indicate what you call national cohesion, national unity. What prevents an individual, a musician, from getting a Hausa chap to be one of his group, a thief man and a dope person and all that. That in itself, when you look at that group, you say, aha, that is a national group. It might not be a national troupe, but at least it is a national group in terms of its own composition. Then again, if you want to really, really, really be relevant in terms of your music, it's not only the rhythmic thing. The lyrics matter more to me than the rhythmic. And in this case, you may have a good voice, but may not be a good songster. What tells you that you cannot employ, somebody who is a songwriter, and then all you do is you vocal it? So these are the kind of things, if we synergize, we'll be able to do this. And like he said, for those people in the Nollywood, they can also make use of experienced script writers. When you make use of experienced script writers, they'll be able to project national issues in their films.
But Professor, I would like you to speak to one of the recommendations or suggestions by Professor Dandaura, that namely, if you create a regime of incentives, that might be a boon to channeling the proper messaging to the needs that we have at the moment. Get the proper therapy for our hurt, get to heal the wounds and so on and so forth. Will that incentive regime be counterproductive going forward, or it might achieve its objective all the same?
I share his point. You need to endow the arts. And if you endow the arts, the people who are in it will be motivated and will begin to do more. And even if you do not do that, let's have, the nation having Grammy Awards. And when you do that, you have standards. And when you begin to have standards, people will aim higher. And in that case, you bring some benchmark, yardstick for measuring all those things and for giving those awards. And by the time you do that, you have people trying to measure up to all those things. Perhaps it is that we will take everything garbage in and the garbage out, and that's why perhaps we have the kind of things we have presently in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Professors Dandara and St. Bilika. For Chief Dike Okudai, we know you have some centers across the nation training young artists to actually look into different forms of what they can do. Let's get to share your experience. Earlier on, Professor Dandara talked about the federal government's obligation, people actually abdicating what they should have done or what they should do as society. Some of these areas that you've set up, you've gone around the country, you've seen what young people are actually trying to do. Where are they picking from, and what exactly is what they've picked up doing to actually help strengthen national unity?
Well, I want to say, if we can create a roadside show where you go with the roadside art, and people will come from different parts of the villages and see the creativity. So it will also help the upcoming people and young people, and say, if this one can make money from the art, because why are we doing all the job we are doing in Nigeria? Or centers. They are buying. Young people industry. In our able to look at what other
contact of hand.
NTA affiliate of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, is organizing a one-month short course on online news reporting. The course is scheduled for 5th February to 16th March 2018 at the NTA TV College premises, Rayfield, Jos. The cost for workshop is 100,000 naira per participant, accommodation inclusive. This course will be targeting professional journalists and those wishing to pursue courses in this field. The course will be teaching participants the act of using mobile phone cameras and digital cameras to generate reports and how these news stories, photos and videos can be produced or even published straight from the field, making the news production process faster and more efficient. Take advantage of this opportunity. NTA TV College, training you to be the best you want to be. For inquiries, contact the academic office on 0806 908 9807, 0816 956 1843.
Hold it! Me! I don't come out my hand from oil concrete.
General, what you gonna yarn? What did the yarn serve? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants say, you know good. Me! I not do again Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority. Just before we went on the short break, my colleague Blessing did indicate that there were viewers' reactions. Already some of those reactions had been scrolled down on the screen, but we'll just take some of them again. Ifeanyi has this tweet. It says, art is a vital means of unity and it encourages creativity and harmony amongst diverse peoples.
Well, from Oke Udo is this tweet. Art creates a dignifying platform of transmitting sound virtues and values with less complex education. When you don't promote yours, others would impose theirs on you. When we share same value, unity is inevitable. Everyone should practice one, either local or imposed.
Festus Akimboyewa has this tweet. Now, collective investment is needed in arts and culture in every part of Nigeria. The government at all levels must partner with the private sector to fund our arts and culture for national unity.
Sani Michael Omakoji tweets, it's so sad that some of our ministers, lawmakers and governors travel to Europe, Asia to go and watch monkeys, cowries, and other common animals around. But in Nigeria, our zoos are left undeveloped by the same people. It's so sad.
And Amokbala Humbab says this tweet. Now, the arts remain one of the many mechanisms through which people can be sensitized and reawaken to their heritage and nationalism. It's a platform for patriotism, and therefore it can be used to instill patriotism again in the minds of the younger ones. Unfortunately, he tweets, the arts are going into extinction with no efforts from the leaders. If properly exploited and managed, they can generate billions for the government. We can make a fortune from it because foreign nationals tend to adore African arts. That's the very reason you see some of the artifacts being sold to white people for money.
This tweet is from the Twitter handle Team Just Alumani. It says, good conversation this morning, but my question is, how is the government identifying and promoting creative talent in the country? Channeling energy seems to be the issue. And yes, what incentives are there for the creative minds in the country?
All right, so those are some of the tweets that we have from our viewers, that we want to take from our viewers at this time. But let's return again to the point raised by Chief Okundaye with regard to the functional value of arts as therapy in traumatic situations. Professor Dandara.
Yeah, this is a very interesting area, and there are indeed several good practices we can cite, even in Nigeria. In our traditional societies, you take the Mada people close by here in Akwanga, we have what we call Vringbo. It's a performance that extols the values and reminds people about the things they have gotten right in the past. It helps people to recover their strength in situations where they are beginning to lose faith. And within the modern experiments, there is a very good production that I think should go to every IDP. I think the Presidential Committee on Trauma Healing should be interested in that. I had also the opportunity to have been invited in November by the government of Hong Kong to curate their World Cultures Festival. And I saw a performance during the Lagos Theatre Festival 2017 called Strelitzia. And I thought that was a performance that was good enough to also take to Hong Kong. And I included that in amongst the African performances. This is a play that relieves experiences of a young lady, a Nigerian, about experiences she has passed through, traumas in terms of rape, in terms of violence, and all that. But it will interest you to know that in Hong Kong, we had just about 2-3 people that were blacks. And indeed Nigerians in Hong Kong that came. The bulk of them are mostly either from Asia or Europe. And you saw people weep in the process of that production. That is because it helped them to connect with the violence they have gone through. And after the performance, normally I will run a discussion. And that also extends the process of healing. At the point I had to ask the audience to segment, take the performance one by one and share the experiences with them. Because part of the play, there is a board where you go and onboarding, write what is on your mind. And people wrote so many things. Even when we had it in Lagos, it had about 3 performances in Lagos in 2017, and I'm happy that based on the recommendation, the British Council has this time invited them back to have them in the 2018 version, this time as a curated performance. And I think that when you go through the things that people write, it even helps government in terms of policies. As part of that Strelitzia performance, I think that if really we are serious about helping people who have gone through this trauma of one attack or the other, a performance like that will be very useful in every IDP. And I assure you, it is akin to a revival, because people have opportunity to now express the things that are paining them that they have not been able to share with anybody. It's like sharing with your diary. And everywhere that performance has had, I have witnessed about 9 of them that performances that are facilitated. And I tell you, there is none that you don't find even the performers breaking down, because it helps them to connect with some of those hurts of the past. So I think there are so many other performances of that nature. And these are the things that government should be interested in. We provide an opening. NTA should also be interested in Streliza, for instance. Talk with the company, see how you can record this so you can upscale it, because it helps. But the live component helps more in terms of the counseling that comes after the performance. So we have a lot of talents in Nigeria that can really use theater to help us to heal these problems.
Yeah, I think coming back home, we have in Cleveland, you have a dance and therapeutic curative theater called Ijov. And it was popularized by Agraibe. And of course, the healing process is done through dance, through songs, through music. In other words, you dance your depression out, you sing your depression out, and all these things, people were being cured of their various, illnesses, particularly depression and madness. I could find madmen dancing, madmen to respond favorably to music. And so, even in churches, you find dance being used in terms of therapy. There are some of these Pentecostal churches, some of these African churches that use music as therapy. Music to reach a certain level in a way that you can commune with your God. And when you commune with your God, you have a sense of fulfillment. And that is what happens within these traditional theaters. When you commune with music, when you participate in that, when you do the dance yourself, and then the man is exalting certain things, it means that perhaps if you are possessed by evil spirits, those evil spirits are being exalted through that process of dance and song. So I think dance can be used as a curative and as a therapeutic means. And there are several other examples in Nigeria and other African countries that one can cite.
Well, thanks a lot. Just before we return to Lagos, let's just stay with the two guests here with us in Abuja. You've talked about the government can and should do this. Which tier of government are we referring to? And from your experience in interacting with various stakeholders, what do you think the subnational governments can on their own do? First, how do you sensitize them to recognize the functional utility of what we are discussing, and then get their buy-in, and then get them to do some of the things that we're talking about? Professor Dandara first.
I think governments at all levels have a role to play. First, we need to have creative hubs in every local government. There has been several initiatives in the past in that regard that has not been followed through. At the state level also, we need to also have encouragement to the local governments to have festivals, because that also provides an avenue for healing, also for addressing aggrieved grievances. There are, especially during this political period, you find that the contestants are not talking to themselves. We had that situation in 2015, is it, the last election in Nasarawa State. 6-7 people vying for governorship were not seen. They were not talking to themselves. They could just attack each other on social media, their supporters and all that. But we had this Nzemada festival in Akwanga, and we invited all of them, which was a week to the election. That was the first time Nasarawa indigenes were seeing all of them at one venue. And they shared jokes together, they laughed together, and the people saw, the supporters that thought it was war, they saw that it wasn't war. I'm also happy that at the federal level, the artistic director of the National Troupe, Uko, shared with me recently his community theater experiments, where he's using theater to work with the headsmen and the farmers so they can forge better understanding, so there could also be healing. And he shared with me the successes achieved so far. I remember I mentioned to him it's a good thing, but we actually have a lot of resource in that area in Nigeria. I think the other problem with government is that sometimes we think that we should initiate ideas and we should go ahead and implement them, whereas there are better resources in terms of human resources outside that can enrich the package. And that was my advice to him. We have professors of participatory communication in the country. We have practitioners that are not even the academia that have dedicated themselves to using theater for that purpose he's talking about. We have community-based organizations in the various places that we have empowered. But we are not talking to ourselves. Like Professor Bileka said, that synergy is not there. So governments at all levels have roles to play. What is the major thing? Is simply to coordinate. There is already abundance of talents. There are already so many people trying to edge their way through the private sector investment. All that is required is, one, government should recognize that its role is just to look around for the talents, coordinate them, and create a platform for people to express themselves. But we must create the location where people can meet. We must provide security so that people feel safe to come to those festivals, to come to those performances, and what have you. If you do that,
do local governments, you know, as emasculated as they are, have, you know, is there any indication that there's an appreciation of the significance of some of the issues that we're talking about?
No, not at all.
You see, when you get the local governments to do these things, I think it is in terms of providing just security and the environment. You see, theater in indigenous languages can be revived. Let me give you the example of Kwahi. It used to be very robust. Now it is declining. But it was very, very popular, and it's still very popular. But it is declining. You can deploy it for these kind of purposes. And what are the local governments going to do? Provide security. Make sure that you provide prices. Sometimes it could just, in those days, it used to be ordinary flags. Flags. The Nigerian flag. Maybe the first person has a flag, a larger flag. The other person has, the second person has a flag but smaller, and the third person has also a smaller flag. And the competition was really hectic. So again, you have to look at theater as business. It should not only be government providing the revenue or providing the funds. Businessmen too should, you know, leverage on this. They should look at it as business. If you look at it as business, you'll be able to inject funding into it, and you'll be able to recoup your money within the shortest period of time. And I think that is what is being done, you know, internationally. It's only in Nigeria here that individuals strive for themselves and are not supported either by the government or by businessmen.
Maybe if I can talk about current government policy. Because last year we were at a festival in Mangu with the Minister of Information and Culture. And he promised Nigerians there that part of the policy he intends to pursue as minister and of course government policy is to ensure that every local government identifies one cultural festival that it will promote. That is already in the books. The problem is we need to sensitize the leadership of the local governments to recognize and activate their various departments of social welfare to do that. If government carries through that promise to work with the local government to see that in every local government we have at least one festival that the local government is encouraging and ensuring that we integrate them into the national festival and tourism calendar, I think that will go a very long way. So I want to encourage the minister that the time has come for us to see the implementation of that promise. And we as professionals and professional bodies in this discipline in Nigeria are ready to support the ministry in realizing that, in terms of providing the content, in terms of providing ideas, in terms of also suggesting better ways that it could be implemented.
Professor Dandaro, thank you very much. Let's return to viewer reactions by way of tweets. We have another site. Monday, Joe Paul has this tweet. The government needs to strike a balance between the two extremes of the arts and science.
Emmanuel Judge has this tweet. Art can promote national unity if only freedom of fairness is allowed. Intimidation of certain sections because of political manipulation creates damage to art industry. Hatred, divisions, and injustice will continue to reflect the morals of artists that tourism of promotion will not be seen in a proper way, especially in Nigeria.
All right, this is from Cecilia Okoroma. It says, Madam Okundayo, you are wonderful, a source of inspiration to women and all. You rose from nowhere to the zenith of your career.
Monday, Elijah Paul tweets again, art helps to describe the work of science, while science is the framework for art. The two go together and should be encouraged.
And Uche Onwebula has this tweet, the functionalities of the arts are the modern trend. We need these functionalities for national cohesion in this era.
Now, this tweet is from architect Ishaku Ayuba. It says, the indiscipline in most Nigerian youth is so much that they don't understand unity messages in arts and jingles. Those are the tweets that we have received for now. Okay, let's get back to Chief Nike Okundai. Now, we've talked about different areas. The three of you have looked into different areas, from the visual to the performing art. Now, let's get your final comment on how to actually string all of this together moving forward.
Well, I will support the way they said we should create more festivals in Nigeria. Then we will create more awareness, because doing festival actually bring people together. Then you can read their mind by their action. You will see it's a joy for every local government to put the right people in the right places, because some people who are working for local government, they don't know anything about art, and that is why the art is staying behind. We need the right people. If you know this one have no education and he has knowledge of something, put them there and let's see what they can do. We need the right people. Create more art festival. We can create festival all year round, and people will be coming from different parts of the world. Nigeria have the source. We have the people who can create. Even when they come to our beach, we can create a beach festival. We can create Kaduna festival. You can make all the states a festival every year, and people will be coming, just like how they go to Calabar. We have Osun festival, we have the Yam festival. There is so many festivals we can create with art, and people will really enjoy and also bring their inside, what is paining them inside. They can put it on the sketch. They can put it in the theater. They can bring it out, and it will solve the problem of the people.
A great artist, and also Chief Executive Officer, Nike Center for Art and Culture. Okay, quickly, Professor, of course, we must get your last comment before we go. The diversity we have in Nigeria is also said to be our strength, but gradual disintegration is what we're beginning to see. How do we change this narrative from all what you've tied together?
What is important is, one, we must promote the rights of artists. We must protect them from piracy, the activities of pirates. Secondly, government must see investment in the arts as investment in the fundamental human rights of Nigerians. And we need to begin to realize that people need more relaxed avenues where they can meet and have conversations, and that is the best way we can actually heal the land.
Professor Sandy Bilga?
Yeah, people dialogue with themselves best in their languages. Let us revive the theater of indigenous languages. Let us revive that tradition of the traveling theater, so that through it we can begin to unravage themes that bind us together. That's my own recommendation.
And then just again, there's a final issue now with regard to the therapy, because that's important. I mean, if the country is bleeding, you have to stop the bleeding in the first instance, and then stabilize the environment, and get people to overcome the trauma. From your perspective, how urgent is it to begin to deploy the arts for therapy?
It's as urgent as 3 years back. It ought to have started. We ought to have focused more, because we have more and more outbreaks of violence, because people still have grievances. So you have reprisal attacks. So we really need to create opportunities for people to dialogue. We need to get people to move around to the communities. We also need to begin to see these festivals as opportunities for even the aggrieved and those that feel they are actually the aggressors come together, and you realize that they will appreciate that their enemies are not within themselves. Their enemies are far away. So it is very urgent, and I would encourage the minister that the professional bodies, and I speak in good authority as President ITR, because it's the clearinghouse for all the professional bodies, particularly in the performing arts and film. I'm aware that all the professional bodies are ready. If government says we want to provide incentive, let's see how we can deploy your various arts towards trauma healing, towards therapy, because we need to reduce the tension in the land. I can assure you that all of us will be ready to give government that attention, and ITI will be willing to partner and indeed also source for funds from our international bodies to support those projects. Because we are celebrating 70 years of the International Theatre Institute this year. And I think that I want to offer this invitation to government to see if we can work together to heal the land.
Yeah, Professor Emmanuel Dandaura, Professor of Participatory Communication and Performance Aesthetics at Nasarawa State University in nearby Kefi, would like to appreciate your insights in our discussion this morning.
It's my pleasure to be part of this, and congratulations on your 40th anniversary.
All right, thank you very much. We also like to thank Professor Saint Beleka, as a Professor of Theatre Arts, University of Abuja. Professor, thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
Okay. And from Lagos, if we still have her on the screen, Chief Nike Monica, right, she's still there. So it's Chief Nike Monica Okundaye, CEO, Nike Center for Arts and Culture. Ma'am, thanks a lot, and we wish you the very best. Wish you the very best.
Thank you, NTA.
All right, so that does it now for our discussion segment. But we of course, we are going over now to our segments. Let's check out what's happening in the world of sports.
Dear Hugh Masakela, I'm sure you'll certainly be missed by all your fans and the continent and the world indeed. Now let's join the Nigerian Meteorological Agency for the weather outlook for the rest of today.
Hello and welcome to today's weather segment. The dust haze currently being witnessed over the country will continue to result in deteriorating visibilities, and our daily minimum temperature values are expected to remain low, especially around the northern cities such as Zaria, Jos, Kaduna, FCT and the adjoining cities. And so for Friday, we expect horizontal visibility over the extreme north down to the inland areas of the south to be in the range of about 2 to 5 kilometers in dust haze, with few stations recording less than 8,000 meters. The coastal cities are likely to experience haziness, although areas around Calabar, Yenegua, Eket are likely to have some patches of cloud at sunrise. Up next is our temperature details. Thank you for staying tuned.
All right, so that's our package for today, and blessing back again to Hugh Masakela. By now, he would have been warmly received by the likes of Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, and John Dixie Gillespie. These were great jazz trumpeters, by the way. All right, so that's it for today and the day for the week on Good Morning Nigeria. We're back same time Monday. That's at 7 o'clock in the morning. My name is Kingsley Osagolo. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
My name is Blessing Abu. We'll see you on Monday by God's grace. Thank you for watching.